Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a brand new and very fun limited meta that just dropped into Go Battle League, the NAIC Championship Series Cup. The rules for this cup are a bit complicated, so I will list the rules and all of the bans on screen throughout this intro. But I'm going to be showcasing today a 9-1 run that I had in this Championship Series Cup, using Dewat as the lead, Grumpig as the save switch, and Oinkologne as the closer. This is the meta that I was talking about with the video last season when I said you're going to want to have Oinkologne female, because it is very, very strong in this meta. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and we pick up a pretty decent lead in game number 1, leading Dewat into Kecleon. Kecleon did get double buffed this season. It got access to Thunder Punch and Dynamic Punch, in large part to help it be stronger in this limited meta. Thunder Punch will hit Dewat for super effective damage, but I do have a very high ranked Dewat, so I'm able to shrug off the Thunder Punch, make it to a second Aqua Tail, and this Aqua Tail should allow me to Fury Cutter down before they make Thunder Punch number 2. This guarantees that I'm able to win switch advantage or shield advantage out of a lead where I'm being hit for super effective damage. In comes Hypno, getting a nice confusion down. I send in the Grumpig. They're going to outpace, so I get the catch and sneak out the Shadow Ball onto Oinkologne. Oinkologne is running its Calm Day move of Mud Slap. Hypno going to be staying on the field. Mud Slap starting to add up. In the back is Miltank, and now I can start to ramp up this Mud Slap damage. Trailblaze connects. It's not going to do much into the Miltank, but what it does do is increase the Mud Slap damage. Miltank is very, very bulky, so the more damage that I can get with these Mud Slaps, the better this matchup is going to be. Now that I'm at +1 attack, this Body Slam is going to be putting the Miltank pretty low. Miltank undertaps the Body Slam. Oinkologne is super bulky, so I can survive this, and I'm just going to look to pivot into the Grumpig and watch for the switch back into Hypno. There's the switch into Hypno. At this point, they can't ever really afford to try and call a bait, so I can successfully bait with Dynamic Punch and then begin to start firing off Shadow Balls. Hypno is going to be full sending Shadow Ball. Very happy I put up the shield there. But even if they bait, by catching the Shadow Ball and nullifying the energy advantage that they got from farming down that Dewat, I'm just in a completely winning position. Shadow Ball pressures a shield. I believe they're actually short of a Shadow Ball here, but in case I miscounted, because I'm not super confident on my Hypno counts, I will decide to put up the shield. I just keep farming, watching for the switch. In comes the Miltank, and I immediately Dynamic Punch to remove it from the field of play. Down goes the Miltank, back in comes the Hypno, and the Grumpig Oinkologne tag team backline absolutely dominates as we take the game 1 win. Hopping into game number 2, leading Dewat into Samurott. Now this is not a matchup that I am too familiar with. Neither one of us gets same type attack bonus on our nuke moves. My nuke move is X-Scissor, their nuke move is of course going to be Mega Horn. Dewat strikes first, firing off the X-Scissor, Samurott puts up the shield. I would probably get knocked out by a Mega Horn, so I will shield back, but unfortunately I do actually get Hydro Cannon baited. I'm again going to throw the X-Scissor, farming up until right before they would make Mega Horn number 2. X-Scissor is going to be double shielded, and these Fury Cutters have done quite a bit of damage. I'm going to fire off Aqua Tail here. I'm hoping that I would be able to survive Hydro Cannon, and I do hang on. This Aqua Tail, it's not going to knock out by any means, but what it will do is put them pretty low, so now I can go for a farm down with the Oinkologne. My opponent pivots out, they send in Grumpig, I switch into my own, but importantly, even though I'm down energy, I'm up a shield. So I can shield up, fire off the Shadow Ball, and do enough side waves to the point where the Shadow Ball will actually pick up the knockout. Shadow Ball from full health will not knock out a Grumpig, but with getting the Mud Slap landing and all those side waves, Shadow Ball will actually now take the KO. My opponent should be able to make a Hydro Cannon with the Samurott, but I just don't think it's going to knock out. In comes Slowking, I have to watch for the catch, and they try for it. Their win con was the CMP sack swap. They're unable to get it. Hydro Cannon lands. That did actually get very, very close, but Grumpig's able to hang on and make the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball will put them low, but truth be told, we didn't even need the Shadow Ball. We had the mud-slapping Oinkologne in the back to take the win. We move to game number 3, leading Dewat into Miltank. I'm going to immediately save switch into Grumpig, because Grumpig up energy is very, very strong in this meta. It's also one of the reasons why I'm running Fury Cutter Dewat, because Dewat does a very nice job at handling a lot of these psychic types. My opponent gets some chip damage, they switch their Grumpig into mine, but I'm up so much energy that I can full set the Shadow Ball, shield once, and then fully Psywave down. This is going to put me in a very favorable position. I'm going to be pretty low on the Grumpig, but my goodness, I have so much energy for whatever they decide to send in here. If they bring in the Miltank, it's getting crushed by Dynamic Punches, and they do. Unfortunately, I accidentally throw 3 Psy Waves instead of 2, and I accidentally throw on alignment. I have no idea why I threw 3 instead of 2 there. I'd love to say it was a game error, but in this case, no. It was just my bad. I'm able to get both shields with Dynamic Punches, and they can't even farm down. Grumpig, what a menace. Grumpig got the shields down, and then I can just bring in Oinkologne. And Oinkologne is just simply too bulky. Oinkologne will be able to shrug off body slam after body slam. I can look to boost up damage with the Trailblaze and just try and make life as uncomfortable as possible for the Miltank. I did debate whether it was better to go for the Trailblaze to boost up or double body slam. I decided I may as well boost up my attack. Since Oinkologne is here to kind of take hits, Oinkologne is not really a damage dealer, but with the Trailblaze boost, then Oinkologne can actually do just a little bit of damage. They're going to reveal their final Pokemon is Hypno. I fire off the boosted body slam, and then it's time to send in Dewat. These Fury Cutters shredding through the Hypno. I'm hopeful that I've done enough Fury Cutter damage that X-Scissor will be able to knock out here. It is super effective. X-Scissor lands, Hypno falls, back in comes the Miltank, they stop tapping, we get the full farm down, and we take the win. Picking up a very bad lead in the next match, Dewat into Galarian Weezing. Realistically, one of the worst matchups that you can see for Dewat is Galarian Weezing, and that's why I've structured the team with Grumpig and Oinkologne in the back. Two Pokemon that are going to do pretty well into Galarian Weezing. My opponent lands the Brutal Swing, sends their Grumpig into mine, and again, I'm just not going to bait. I fire off the Shadow Ball, winning charge attack priority. Shadow Ball will not take the knockout, but what it will do is allow me to get a nasty Psywave down. I'm not going to have a lot of HP remaining, but what I am going to have is a ton of energy. In comes the Weezing, I fire off the Shadow Ball. I'm hoping this will put them into 2 Psywave range. Shadow Ball is going to be no shielded. Psywave's KO. What do they have in the back? They have Linoone, and this game is over. Linoone has to put up the shield, or they'll get rocked by Dynamic Punch. They end up not putting up the shield, and now I can just Mud Slap down with the Oinkologne. Even if my opponent did put up the shield, it's a Shadow Claw Linoone. What were they going to do into Oinkologne? Oinkologne double resist Shadow Claw. So Oinkologne gets the full Mud Slap down as my opponent unfortunately loses with both Protect Shields intact. We've got another Samurott lead in the next match. This time it is going to be the Shadow. The Shadow is quite scary because Mega Horn, I imagine, is just going to cleanly one-hit KO the Dewat. But because they're Shadow, I feel like they're a lot more likely to shield. So I'm able to Aqua Tail bait. I have a tough call to make. I put up the shield. It's a Razor Shell! Oh no, this is very bad. I completely forgot that's a move that Samurott learns, but a Razor Shell is a guaranteed attack drop, and now it's highly likely they're probably just going to Hydro Cannon me and knock me out. Man, that went about as badly as it could have gone. That is absolutely terrible. I send in the Oinkologne basically just to sacrifice it. I kind of have to trust at this point that I'll be able to close out the game with the Grumpig. I don't know if Samurott counts. I hope it's just a Razor Shell. It's a Hydro Cannon, and this Shadow Samurott is completely ruining my entire team. I send in the Grumpig. They pivot into Shadow Hypno. At the very least, Grumpig up a shield does look strong here. The fact that they're Shadow on Hypno is actually going to betray them, because I can actually Psywave down after landing the Shadow Ball. So I put up the shield, they go for a Thunder Punch bait, trying to make Thunder Punch number 2, they're not going to get there, and I just have so much energy. What could they possibly have in the back that wins? It turns out the answer is nothing, and they will resign the match. We've got the Battle of Water types in the next match, Dewat into Shadow Feraligatr. In this Psychic heavy meta, Feraligatr on Crunch would make quite a bit of sense, so when they throw on 6, I will put up the shield. It is going to be Crunch, they save switch into a Azumarill, and boy, do I have a very strong answer for Azumarill in Oinkologne. Seeing Azumarill at all, honestly, was a pretty big surprise. Azumarill is not really commonly run much in this meta, but Oinkologne is going to handle it very, very nicely. I get to fire off the Trailblaze, boosting up my Mud Slaps, and my second Trailblaze is going to be reached on charge attack priority to their second Play Rough. This Trailblaze at +1 attack should be delivering the knockout. My opponent puts up the shield, and I decide, you know what? If they're weak to the Oinkologne, I may as well shield it. They go for the Ice Beam, they pivot into Feraligatr. Look at the boosted Mud Slaps go. Feraligatr forced to fire off Hydro Cannon immediately, and I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot. I'm just going to send in the Grumpig and look for the full farm down. Can I actually get it, though? They could have made a Hydro, but they tried to commit to the Crunch, and they did not get there. They should have thrown the Hydro. I'll be honest, that was a bit aggressive of me to try and go for the farm down. In the back, they have Swampert, so as it turns out, we probably would have won anyway, because they were just very, very weak to Dewat. Both Swampert and the Feraligatr, not a big fan of Dewat whatsoever. I already have the back-to-back Aqua Tails loaded. Aqua Tail will take the knockout. In comes Azumarill, and there's just no path forward. Dewat is simply too spammy, and my opponent will resign the match. We see a very familiar lead in the next match, leading Dewat into Kecleon. Same game plan as before. I'm just going to try and either win the zeros or get a shield advantage, and then trust in the fact that with the Sucker Puncher out of the way, Grumpig is probably going to be pretty good in the back. So they no shield, I no shield, and because of this insanely fast 9-turn pacing, Dewat's always going to outpace and make it to Aqua Tail number 2. This Aqua Tail is going to be shielded, so Kecleon going to try and make a play for alignment. I'm going to bring in the Oinkologne. I do live Dynamic Punch, but I don't really want to have to live Dynamic Punch, so I will put up the shield. Dynamic gets them their shield back, and then they send in Shadow Grumpig. Their Grumpig being up energy is quite scary, but this is where Oinkologne being able to boost up its damage will be very valuable. Trailblaze does do nice damage. The Mud Slap's increasing in damage as well. I shield up Dynamic Punch number 2, and that means I'm shields down for the end game. But if my opponent doesn't shield, I'm going to have a +2 Oinkologne on the loose, and they cannot let that happen. They put up the shield, they'll finally take the knockout, but they're in a range where I can Psywave down now with my Grumpig. And I'm going to have the one with the energy advantage Grumpig. In the back, look at the spice, it's a Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan, not really a Pokemon you see too much in this meta, but hey, that's a very cool pick. It's the shiny as well. We land Dynamic Punch, get the Psywave down. In comes Kecleon. Kecleon will make a Thunder Punch, but Grumpig is just simply too healthy. Kecleon lands Thunder Punch. I decide that I can Psywave all the way down, exit with the Shadow Ball loaded for their Grumpig. I think arguably I misplayed in that game by shielding the first Dynamic Punch on Oinkologne. If I no-shielded it and then saved 2 shields for my Grumpig, that probably would have been a lot easier of a game to win. We see a bit of a surprising lead in the next match, leading Dewat into Powder Snow, Alolan Ninetales. This is my first time seeing Ninetales in this meta. I'm not sure what move they run as a coverage move. I wouldn't be surprised to see either Dazzling Gleam or Psyshock. It looks like the Aqua Tails plus the Fury Cutters do add up quite a bit. I will respect the Dazzling Gleam, and it turns out that it is actually on Psyshock. Psyshock probably 2-shots me. Dewat is okay bulk, but it's not incredible bulk. Yeah, it looks like I would have gotten knocked out by the second Psyshock, so shielding I don't think was the worst play ever. I can overfarm quite a bit, fire off the Aqua Tail, take the knockout. What is my opponent going to be bringing in now? Ninetales has fallen. They're going to bring in Hypno, and this is really good. I have super effective damage into the Hypno. X-Scissor connects. That is big damage. I'm going to make X-Scissor number 2. They snipe me with 2 cannon. I should have just thrown the move as soon as I got it. And with that beautiful play to nullify my energy, my opponent has now won this game. I'm going to try and play it out, but realistically, I'm just getting swept by this 2 cannon. That was really well played by my opponent. They utilized the bulk of Hypno to absorb energy from the Dewat. They sniped down my energy. If I get that Aqua Tail, I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot, but I just gotta tip my hat to them. They played this really well. Oinkologne, not really gonna be able to do much against the Flyer, and we will resign the match. We see our third Samurott lead of the day. This time, it is not the Shadow one. The Shadow one with Razor Shell absolutely terrorized me last time, so I'm very happy to see the regular Samurott. The Aqua Tail bait does end up proving to be a pretty wise one as I'm able to get the shield. I decided to shield in case to go for the Mega Horn, but they're not going to go for it. Instead, they will go for the Hydro Cannon. X-Scissor really doesn't do a lot here. I think my opponent can actually no-shield and survive, and that's exactly what they're going to do. However, Soft losing this matchup in exchange for farm on the Grumpig honestly feels like it would be a pretty good trade for me. So I bring in the Grumpig, I take a few Fury Cutters, but now I have a Grumpig up energy, and my opponent's going to be sending in Miltank. Miltank really going to struggle in this matchup. If this is what they're bringing in, then they have something in the back that cannot deal with the Grumpig up energy. Grumpig really feels like it's the key to unlock this meta. My opponent should end up under-tapping here, so I'll go for the catch and sneak onto Oinkologne and just preserve a ton of energy on my Grumpig. Oinkologne, it's here to be a damage sponge. My opponent reveals they have their own Grumpig in the back, and let's start boosting up our damage. Let's go for the Trailblaze. Trailblaze really not going to do much onto the Grumpig because this is the non-Shadow Grumpig as opposed to last time it was the Shadow. I'm going to be shielding once just to land as many boosted Mud Slaps as possible. I will be able to make it to the boosted Body Slam, and this will be putting my opponent critically low. Body Slam does get the shield. I'm very close to Dynamic Punch on my Grumpig. They fire off energy, and I just have to not let my opponent catch. As long as they can't catch, they can't win the game. I bring in my Grumpig, throw 3 Psywaves, and they don't get the catch. Dynamic Punch is resisted, but Grumpig will fall. In comes Miltank. Miltank falls to the Psywaves, and we get another win. We see a familiar lead in the final match, Dewat into Miltank. With the Miltank leads, I found that safe switching into Grumpig usually ends up working out pretty nicely, because Grumpig up energy is really difficult to answer in this meta. They're going to Body Slam, they're going to bring in their own Dewat. Now that is a pretty cool answer to Grumpig. They fire off Aqua Tail, this is not enough for an X-Scissor, and it's going to be very close if I can survive the Fury Cutters to get back-to-back Dynamic. Dynamic number 1 is going to connect. We do get Dynamic number 2. Grumpig barely able to hang on. I don't have the greatest IVs on Grumpig, but good enough to survive. And one more Fury Cutter is going to knock me out. My goal here is pretty simple. I'm going to try and bank energy on Dewat and then try and snipe with a Mud Slap from Oinkologne. So I get them low, switch into the Oinkologne, and snipe them down with the Mud Slap. Now I have an Oinkologne that's up energy. My opponent's going to bring in the Miltank. They're going to bank a Body Slam and send in Hypno. Now Oinkologne gets to do what Oinkologne does best. Boost up its damage with Trailblaze and begin to make life very uncomfortable even for a Pokemon as bulky as Hypno. Hypno fires off Thunder Punch. I'll put up the shield. I'm going to throw the Body Slam. I don't want to boost myself again because I'm going to look to pivot out and send in Dewat. In comes Dewat, 3 Fury Cutters in the Aqua Tail. I believe Aqua Tail will be enough to knock out here. Hypno no shields, hoping they survive, but they do not. Back in comes the Miltank. This is going to be a pretty close game, but I think I can win it. Aqua Tail connects. They're going to fire off Charge Attack instantly, not wanting to take any more Fury Cutter damage. The game comes down to this. Who gets to the double Body Slams first? Miltank fires off energy. I'm going to be no shielding. They actually need 3 Body Slams here. 2 are not going to cut it. I farm up. I get to the back-to-back, and that's going to be a win. I was a little bit worried that they could maybe do like a Body Slam bait into an Ice Beam, but by getting the call right, no shielding the Body Slam, my opponent just didn't really have a path forward in this game. Body Slam, it does not do much in a mirror match as bulky as this, but it does do enough. Down goes Miltank, and that's a good game. All in all, I had a lot of fun getting to play today in the NAIC Championship Series meta. I think that this is a lot more open of a meta than the other 2 Championship Series Cup metas that we've had in the past for LAIC and EUIC respectively. I think the fact that we had a move update occur so recently probably helps with that, just because battlers haven't really had the time to solve the meta. So currently, there's just a lot of stuff that's able to work very nicely. The fact that I'm able to use a Pokemon like Dewat and go 9-1 is something I'm really happy about. Looking through the list here on PvPoke, Orbeetles at 19, Galarian Slowking at 15, Aromatisse at 16. There's so many cool Pokemon that are playable in this meta. Now, I tried to go a bit more anti-meta with Dewat, at least I thought I did, and it turns out Dewat is actually pretty highly ranked, but this is just a really fun meta. I know the Open Great League, there's obviously a lot to explore there, so I'm probably going to be staying with the Great League for most of this week, and then playing more NAIC during the Ultra League week next week. But for a first day in NAIC, I did have quite a lot of fun. Dewat's just an incredibly cute Pokemon, and I'm very happy that there's a meta that's been created where Dewat can be an absolute star. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching today's video, please do leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And an extra special thank you, as always, to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide to the channel is so sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.